Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Brenda Andrew? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoy this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Brenda Andrew was born on December 16, 1963, and grew up in the state of Oklahoma. When she was young, she was described as quiet and shy. She spent a lot of time in church. When she was a senior in high school, she met a man named Rob Andrew. He was in college at this time. The couple married on June 2, 1984, and moved to Texas. A few years later, Rob returned to Oklahoma and took a job at an advertising agency in Oklahoma City. Brenda stayed in Texas for a few months before moving to Oklahoma as well. The couple had a child in late 1990. Brenda stayed at home after this. They had another child in 1994. The marriage was in trouble by this point. Brenda verbally mistreated Rob. She told him that she hated him and that their marriage had been a mistake. Brenda started dressing provocatively, became outgoing, and tried to get the attention of men. She was successful. Brenda started having an affair in 1997 that lasted until the spring of 1998. She had another affair in 1999. This one ended in 2001. Around this time, Brenda met a life insurance agent named James Pavat. They both went to the same church and decided to teach a Sunday school class together. Not long after this, they started having sex. It would appear as though they viewed the Ten Commandments not as rules to be followed, but as a to-do list. In March 2001, James helped Rob obtain a life insurance policy with a benefit of about $800,000. In September 2001, Rob and Brenda separated, and he moved out of the family home. This was something that Brenda wanted. Rob did not want to leave. Not long after this, divorce proceedings were initiated by Brenda. On October 26, 2001, Rob Andrew walked out of his apartment and entered his black Nissan with the intent of driving to work. He noticed that the brake pedal went all the way down to the floor. He drove the vehicle to a Nissan dealership. They informed him that the two front brake lines had been severed. Rob called 911 and told the operator he wanted to report a crime. His brake lines had been cut. He said, quote, "That sounds like attempted murder, don't you think?" unquote. The police investigated. They went to the dealership and examined the brake lines. It was clear they had been deliberately severed. Rob offered a theory to the police about what happened. James Pavat was having an affair with his wife and may be the one who tried to kill him. Around this time, Rob received 3 mysterious phone calls from unknown people saying that Brenda was in a hospital in Norman, Oklahoma, and needed him right away. Rob realized that somebody was setting him up. He attempted to change the $800,000 insurance policy, but James tried to interfere. Rob once again contacted the police. Now he was saying that it wasn't only James who was trying to kill him, Brenda was as well. He specifically mentioned the insurance benefit as their motive. The police continued to investigate. They wanted to talk to Rob some more, but they never had the chance. Which brings me to the timeline of the crime. On November 20, 2001, Rob was planning on picking up his 2 children from Brenda's house. He was going to keep them during the Thanksgiving holiday. Typically, Rob would pull up to the house and Brenda would bring the children out to his vehicle. On this day, however, Brenda changed the plan. She asked Rob to come into the garage to light the pilot light on the furnace. Sometime around 7 p.m., both Rob and Brenda were shot as they were standing in the garage. Brenda called 911. She told the operator, "I've been shot. My husband's been shot." The police and other emergency personnel arrived quickly. They found that Rob was dead on the floor of the garage. He had been shot twice with a 16-gauge shotgun. Brenda had a superficial gunshot wound on her arm, which was caused by a .22 caliber. The children were inside a bedroom in the house. The volume on the television was turned up very high. They were unaware of the shooting. There was no evidence that the children had packed for any time away from home. Brenda was taken to a hospital, and the police spoke to her. Here's what she told them. As Rob was trying to light the pilot light on the furnace, two men wearing masks and dark shirts entered the garage. Rob turned to face the men and was shot in the abdomen by one of them. Rob then grabbed a bag of aluminum cans and was shot again by the same perpetrator. I guess Rob was trying to use the cans to fend off the attackers. Brenda claimed that the other perpetrator shot her in the arm from some distance. After shooting the couple, the two men fled on foot. The police continued their investigation. Here's what they found. Nothing was taken from the Andrew family home. Rob had his wallet in his pants pocket. A spent 16-gauge shotgun shell was found on top of a vehicle in the garage, and a .22 caliber bullet was found in the garage wall. The wound on Brenda's arm was caused by a close-range firearm discharge, not from some distance, as she indicated. Rob owned a 16-gauge shotgun. He told people that Brenda would not let him take it from the house when she kicked him out. The shotgun was missing. A person who knew Brenda reported seeing her at a rural area where people would often go to fire guns. Several spent 16-gauge shotgun shells were found at that site. Brenda's special friend, James Pavat, had a daughter named Jana Larson. Jana told the police that in late October, the month before the murder, her father James told her that Brenda asked him to murder Rob Andrew. James persuaded his daughter to call Rob Andrew using an untraceable phone and tell him that his wife was in the hospital. This fits with the story that Rob told the police about those mysterious calls. The police discovered that James had forged Rob's signature on documentation to transfer Rob's life insurance policy to Brenda. The policy had been backdated to March 2001, when it was initially purchased. James purchased a .22 caliber pistol from a local gun shop about a week before the murder. On the day of the murder, he borrowed his daughter's car and said he was going to have it serviced. He never did service it. He returned the car on the morning after the murder. His daughter found a .22 caliber long rifle cartridge on the floorboard of the vehicle. James told his daughter to throw away the cartridge and never tell anyone that Brenda had asked him to kill Rob Andrew. A few days after the murder, James obtained information over the internet about Argentina, believing that the United States does not have an extradition agreement with this country. In reality, an extradition agreement went into effect the year before. James asked his daughter for help creating a fake document granting permission for Rob's children to travel with Brenda out of the country. Brenda's next-door neighbors were away at the time of the murder. Brenda had a key to their house. The neighbors informed the police about suspicious discoveries they made at their house when they returned after the murder. A bed had been moved. Their shoe rack was broken and placed under the bed. Shoes in the closet were not in the right place. The access panel to the attic was moved, and they found a shotgun shell on the floor of another room. The police investigated and determined the shotgun shell was 16 gauge. The police also found several .22 caliber cartridges in the attic. By the time the police had collected enough evidence to arrest Brenda and James, the couple was no longer in Oklahoma. Brenda, James, and Brenda's two children went to Mexico just a few days after the shooting. They didn't even attend Rob's funeral. When they attempted to return to the United States on February 28, 2002, Brenda and James were arrested. They faced separate trials for first-degree murder and conspiracy. In August 2003, James went on trial. The state said that James shot Rob one time. Brenda then took the shotgun and shot him again. James hid in the neighbor's house until the police left. This explains why the spent shotgun shell was found there and the live .22 caliber cartridges were found there. After the police left the area, James made his escape. James was found guilty and sentenced to death. Brenda went on trial in 2004 and received the same outcome. At the time making this video, Brenda Andrew is the only woman on death row in the state of Oklahoma. Now moving to my analysis. It seems fairly clear that both Brenda and James were guilty. They were particularly haphazard and clumsy in their homicidal plan and left themselves just about no chance of escaping. When they ran out of money in Mexico, they inexplicably tried to get back into the United States. I guess they found Mexico so unpleasant, they thought death row would be better. This could inspire some new slogans for the Mexico Tourism Board, like rekindle that death row desire, or come to Mexico and walk the last mile. Some people look at this case and think that Brenda was a criminal mastermind who manipulated James. Others see this the opposite way. James was the one pushing for homicide. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. When Brenda and Rob first married, they probably thought they would be together for a long time. Most people who get married believe this. It didn't take long for Brenda to become unhappy in the marriage, but Rob continued to view the marriage as something that would last a lifetime. Even though they were not happy, they decided to have children. This gave Rob even more incentive to stay in the marriage, but gave Brenda more cause for concern. She knew that if she left Rob, there would be a custody dispute. Brenda berated Rob frequently, telling him that she wished she never married him, and indicating that he was the problem. She made it clear that she hated him. Despite this, Rob really wanted the marriage to work out. He was able to find hope where none existed. Rob continued to be affectionate toward Brenda, but she did not reciprocate. He was either unwilling or unable to see the truth. Brenda started dressing provocatively and approaching men frequently. Rob either didn't realize this or was able to rationalize it. Brenda started having affairs. Once again, Rob decided to stay in the marriage. When Brenda connected with James, she started talking about how terrible Rob was. She probably said this to all her lovers. James really wanted to be with Brenda, but she would not risk a custody battle with Rob. She introduced the idea of homicide to solve this problem. James was open to the possibility. When Rob discovered the affair, he asked Brenda to break up with James. He told her that he was not ready to give up on their marriage. He told James the same thing. This only made James more determined to kill Rob. He realized that Rob would not go peacefully. Brenda and James came up with a ridiculously simplistic plan to murder Rob. They put the plan in motion in March 2001, when James sold Rob the life insurance policy. By October, they were ready to move to the next stage. The homicidal couple did not really have any idea what they were doing. Perhaps inspired by Wile E. Coyote, they decided to cut the brake lines on Rob's Nissan. This was certainly dangerous and could have caused a collision, but the chances of that collision being fatal were not too high. Maybe the couple thought that Rob would chase a roadrunner off a cliff or something. Rob discovered that his brakes had been cut, but the homicidal couple was undeterred. So their plan was exposed, but they didn't want to give up. They came up with a more direct method. On November 20, Brenda lured Rob into the garage at her house. When he walked in, James shot him once. Brenda took the shotgun and shot Rob for a second time. She wanted to personally kill him. The police found blood spatter from Rob on Brenda's jeans. James then used a .22 caliber pistol and shot Brenda in the arm to give her a chance to play the victim. Now moving to my final thoughts. I think the lesson that can be learned in this case is that sometimes a marriage cannot be saved. Rob was not willing to face reality. He believed that somehow everything would work out. I don't think there was anything that Brenda could have done to drive Rob away. He was distraught when she kicked him out of the house. He did not know what to do in that despondent state. Even though she mistreated him for years, he didn't know of any other way to live. When he showed up on the evening of his homicide, he knew that Brenda and James were trying to kill him. He had already told the police about this, yet he still could not remain distant from Brenda. He was dependent on her. He needed her. This made it easy for Brenda to set him up. Brenda Andrew correctly assessed the level of influence that she had over both Rob and James, but overestimated her ability to influence a jury. Those are my thoughts in the case of Brenda Andrew. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.